Thank you, Chair. So I rise to give my comments on the MPI, matter of public importance, and I think what is on most people's minds is fuel right now. It is really hurting people, and uncertainty is creating behaviour that can unfortunately make things worse. And I think the big issue that we've got here is a lack of information. So driving down to Hobart yesterday, and in the previous days, it's pretty clear that the price of unleaded has dropped, but the price of diesel remains stubbornly high. And what we're seeing is an uncertainty created around that price. People don't know if there's going to be fuel, and indeed that's what we saw on King Island, was that the tanks at the service station ran out. And now that creates an issue and creates problems, because if people are uncertain about how much fuel there will be at a service station like the one on King Island, then the next time they fill up, they might actually take more fuel than they immediately need, and that runs the tanks low, and we get this cycle of continual runs, in effect, on service stations. And that's the last thing that we want. Now, it was pleasing to hear from the Minister about the supply levels on King Island, but that information needs to get out to the people of King Island so that they know that if the service station runs out of fuel, that it is only temporary. Otherwise, what we'll see is people making very rational decisions to, instead of filling up their car and a bunch of other tanks and so on, because of the fear living on King Island that they may be about to run out of fuel. Now, we did pass the petroleum reporting bill in the last session of Parliament. Indeed, it took until 2 o'clock in the morning to get it done. And one of the things in the debate was that I raised this issue of information and suggested to the government that they make regular updates, indeed daily updates, around fuel supply so that people have some certainty around how much fuel there is in the state. And I was very pleased that on the 30th of March, the government put out a media release saying it was under the banner of daily fuel update, giving the current status of fuel in Tasmania. What has been disappointing is that was the last update. Now, what I think needs to happen is that the government needs to provide continual updates with figures about how much supply there is in the state, so that people don't make rational decisions to take more fuel than they actually require because of fear that it might run out. So the government has a role here to provide that information. Now, the Minister talked about the Tas Alert website providing information about fuel. And so I had a quick look, and there indeed, it's last updated on the 9th of April, that Tasmania's fuel supply is secure. The 9th of April was the last update on the Tas Alert website. This needs to be done far more regularly. Otherwise, people are going to make decisions which can actually make the fuel supply situation worse. So I have been talking to farmers, and we see that when this crisis really kicked on, then the farmers rang up and said, I need 5,000 litres. They might be in the middle of potato harvesting, for example, and one of the people I spoke to was in the middle of potato harvesting, and they rung up about the delivery of 5,000 litres of diesel. And the supplier said, I'm not sure if I can get that to you. So this farmer made the rational decision to go down into town with 3 of the 1,000 litre IBC cubes on the back of his ute and a trailer, and he filled up with 3,000 litres of diesel because he knew, well, he did not know if he was going to get resupplied. So this, and then people are seeing that and seeing a farmer filling up 3,000 litres of diesel, and then all of a sudden people think, will there be diesel for me? And then their behaviour changes. And this is what drives the service stations running out of fuel, because people are taking more than they immediately need through making a rational decision. That decision is based on fear. Now, I believe very strongly that the government has to up the stakes here. They have to continually update the state about the supply of fuel, especially diesel. Now, we see the price of unleaded has come down, which is very welcome. And it's quite understandable why that's happened, is because the use of unleaded fuel reduces, people change their behaviour. So instead of driving to Launceston to go visit grandma this weekend, they might decide not to because fuel price is high. So the demand and little decisions like that across the state mean that fuel fuel use is reduced. But the problem with diesel is that the farmers still need to farm, the truck drivers still need to drive all the produce around Tasmania. So that's inelastic, and that's why we're seeing this impact on diesel, and the government needs to inform the public.
Thank you.